Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Mohammed Kubayb. In this video, we are going to discuss about Azure NetApp files for AVD or Citrix DaaS. If you like this video, please hit the bell icon and subscribe to my channel for the future updates. If you want to learn more about Azure or Citrix or FSlogix technologies, you can check out my bestseller Udemy course. When you plan for Azure Virtual Desktop or Citrix DaaS with the pooled VDI infrastructure, then one of the main component is profile. So in a pooled VDI, anything user saves, it will vanish after the log off. So to avoid, we will use profile so that all the changes or all the documents or any data will be saved to the network share. So to have a better profile experience, you must have a highly available share that can host your profiles. So when we are planning our Azure or Citrix VDI in the cloud, the two most common available options are Azure Premium File, which is a native solution from Azure itself, and the second one is Azure NetApp Files, which is also a native solution in Azure. However, it is managed by Microsoft with the help of NetApp. So Azure NetApp File is a native Azure storage service that provides enterprise-grade NFS or SMB SIF storage volume for mission-critical applications. And additionally, it also provides built-in availability, data protection, and disaster recovery capabilities. So in a nutshell, Azure NetApp Files is a file-sharing solution, and it will support SMB and NFS protocols, and you can use it for your mission-critical applications such as database, file sharing, home directory, VDI, profile, etc., etc. So let's see the conceptual diagram of storage hierarchy in Azure NetApp files. So as you can see, we have a Azure subscription and then we have a NetApp account. Under that, we have a capacity pool. Then we have our volumes. It is nothing but our shades. So let's discuss about the service levels. So NetApp supports three service levels. One is Ultra, another one is Premium, and another one is Standard. So this is purely depends on your requirement about the throughput. So Ultra is the highest one, which will give you 180 MIP per second for 1 TB quota. And if you want to go with the Premium, it will provide 64 MIP per second. So similarly, Standard, it will provide you 16 MIP per second per 1 TB quota. So purely depend on your requirement, you can choose which service level you want to go, and always you have a flexibility to change the service levels at any time without any downtime. For example, let's say you selected Standard, after 2-3 months you wanted to change it to Premium, you can do it, or you can change it to Ultra. So you can change and also you can revert back. Let's say you're running on Ultra and you wanted to go back to Premium, that is also available. Let's see how to create Azure NetApp file volumes for our FSlogix profiles or any file share. So in the Azure portal, first we need to go to the subscription. So here in the subscription, we need to select resource providers. So once you are in the resource provider blade, so search for NetApp. So make sure that you need to register this service. So in this example, I already registered. So let's say if you are trying for the first time, it will show as unregistered. So you need to select this and we need to click on the option called register. So once you have completed the registration, then we need to go to the search box and we need to type Azure NetApp file. So now we are in the Azure NetApp file blade. So the first step is to create a Azure NetApp account. So let's click on create. So here we need to provide the name for our Azure NetApp account. So I'm going to give VDI bus -NetApp account. So this is the name for my Azure NetApp account. And then we need to select the subscription and we need to select the resource group. So I have multiple resource group. So I will choose my resource group, which is hub-rg. And the location, so based on your requirement, you can choose the location. So in my example, I'm going to choose Central US and then click create. So it will take a while to create the NetApp account. So now NetApp account creation has been completed. So we can go to the resources. So it will take you inside the NetApp account. So here we have multiple options. So we need to first set up our Active Directory connections. So this is very important for a SMB share. So let's go to the Active Directory connection blade. So here we need to click on join. So this is the DNS name you have to provide here. So in my case, it is 10.196.1.4. If you have a secondary DNS, you can provide, and the AD DNS domain name. So in my example, it is vdabus.site. And then the site name. So I have a site name. This will get it from our Active Directory. So in my example, I have provided site name as vdabus, and then SMB server prefix. So this is the naming prefix we are going to define for our volumes, which is nothing but a computer object in our Active Directory. So I am going to define it as ANF. So if you create any volume, it will append this particular name in your Active Directory. So if I go to my Active Directory, I have a VOU. So I will point this VOU to create any storage objects. So let's go to the properties and let's go to attribute editor, and here is the path for my VOU. So I'll just copy this portion which is O is equal to ANF. This is required over here under organization unit path. And then we need to scroll down, and here we have username. So this is the username which I am going to use, which is AVD admin, and then we have a password, and we need to confirm the password. So basically this account is having a rights to take the computer accounts in domain. So we need to have the rights to take the machine in domain. So make sure that the service accounts which you are using has got a sufficient rights, and then click on join. So now our NetApp account has been integrated with Active Directory. So if you refresh here, you can see the details related to the Active Directory. So now we need to go to the capacity pools. So we need to create a capacity pool. So to create a capacity pool, we need to click on add pool, and we need to define the name. So I'm going to enter the name as FSlogix hyphen VDA bus. So service level, so either you can choose premium or ultra or standard based on your requirement. You can choose. This is nothing but it will provide you throughputs based on the service level you choose. So for this lab, I'm going to choose standard, but if in the production, it is better to go with premium or ultra. So size in TB. So this is the minimum size of the capacity pool. So you can start with the 2 TB. However, you cannot go beyond 2 TB. If I press 1 TB, so you'll get an error saying that the value must be between 2 and 500. So minimum, you have to start with 2 TB. So under QoS type, either you can choose manual or auto. So this is nothing but again related to the throughput. If you select auto, the NetApp will automatically assign the throughputs. However, if you select manual, you have the option to set the throughput manually on your capacity pool. So once you provided all these details, you can click on create. So now the capacity pool creation is in progress. So let's wait for a couple of minutes and we'll proceed once it completes. So the capacity pool creation has been completed. If you refresh here, we can see our capacity pool. So now we have the NetApp account as well as capacity pool, and the final piece is to create the volumes. So we need to create a subnet which is dedicated for NetApp, which is called a delegated subnet. So to create that, we need to go to our virtual network. So once you are in a virtual network blade, you need to select the VNet on which you are going to deploy your NetApp. So in this example, I'm going to deploy in Hub VNet. So I will select that. Under that, I will go to subnets. So here we need to create a NetApp subnet which is dedicated for NetApp only. You cannot deploy any other workloads in this particular subnet. So let's click on subnet and we will give a name NetApp-hub, and then I'm going to give the address space as 10.125.2.0/26, and then it's very important, you need to select the delegated subnet to a service. So here we need to select NetApp. and then click on save. So now we have the subnets which is dedicated for the NetApp. Now we can go ahead and proceed our remaining procedure. So to create a volume, we need to go to the volume blade and we need to click on add volume. So here we need to define our share name. So I'm going to give a name as share1 and capacity pool. So this is the default capacity which I created a while ago. So under quota, so the minimum you have to start with the 100 GB for your volume. So you cannot go beyond 100 GB. So if you try to put a below 100 GB, it will throw error and it will say the value must be between 100 and 2048. So 2048 is not, so the 2048 is 2 TB, which is my upper limit of my capacity pool. So here I mentioned the capacity full as 2 TB. So if you mention your capacity pool as 4 TB, then you may see the upper limit here as 4 TB. So in this example, it is only showing till 2 TB you can define. So in this example, I'm going to define 100 GB. So this is very important, virtual network. So you need to select your virtual network on which you are going to deploy this NetApp volume. So in my case, I'm going to choose Hub VNet. And then under delegated subnet, so we need to have a dedicated subnet for our NetApp file. So if you go to create new subnet, so you can create a new subnet for your NetApp on the go. So make sure that this is a must prerequisites and NetApp requires its own dedicated subnet and you cannot deploy any other resource such as VMs etc. on this particular subnet. So make sure that you have the dedicated subnet before you plan to deploy your NetApp volumes. In this example, I already created a NetApp dedicated subnet which is hub-NetApp and the address space is /26. So don't define huge address space like 22, 23, etc. Try to create /26, 27 or 28 etc. And then under network interface, we have two options, either basic or standard. We will go with standard because standard will provide you more features. So it will support transit routing or it will support hub and spoke architecture. So always go with standard. And then we need to select protocol. So under protocol, we are going with SMB because we need this for our FSlogix share. So when you select SMB, automatically it will pick the Active Directory connections and share name, which is share1. So if you have a different name you want it, you can change it. So for example, let's say I'm going to define it as FSlogix share. So once we have all these details, we can click on review and create. So it will review the configuration. If everything is well and good, it will allow us to create the volume. So now validation is succeeded. So now we can simply click on create. So this process will take 2 to 3 minutes. So let's wait and come back. So now the volume creation succeeded. So if you go to our Active Directory, so under the OU, we can see the storage object, which is nothing but our volume is now integrated with the Active Directory. So if you go back to the portal and if you go to resource, so it will take you inside the volume. So here if we can see the volume. So this is the overview of the volume. So here we have the resource group details and this is the amount path. It is nothing but if you copy this, you can access your share. So let's go to our computer and try to access the path. So I'm launching File Explorer and I'm going to enter the path, which is my SMB path. So as you can see, now we have the share, which is provisioned through Azure NetApp file. Now we have the storage. So the next step is you need to go to the properties and you need to define the NTFS permission for the share. So for that you need to go to edit and you need to add the users over here. So it is recommended to remove the everyone. So before you remove everyone, first you add an admin account, so which will manage the share, which means you should give a full permission for the admin user, and then you can define your groups or users who are using the VDI. For them, you need to define the permissions. So to define the permission, you can go to Microsoft article and you can see here for the users, you need to provide this folder only with the modify permission. And for the creator owner, you need to give subfolder and files with the modify. And as I mentioned, for the administrator, you need to give full controls. So once you define this, you can remove the everyone so that your share will be safe and secure and it will avoid any unauthorized access. So one more option we have in the NetApp portal, which is nothing but snapshots. Snapshots are nothing but backups. So you can define the snapshots, hourly or daily or monthly basis snapshots, and you can keep it for the backup purpose. For example, let's say I'm going to create a file in my NetApp storage. So I'll create a folder first, and inside this folder, I'm going to create a text file. I'll enter the data. So for example, 1, 2, 3. So now let's say if I delete this, so I don't have any way to recover the file. So in order to avoid such scenario, we can enable snapshots. So this is very helpful when you use FSlogix profile container. So to do that, we need to go to the portal and we need to select our volume, and under this you can click on add snapshot. So here give the name for the snapshot. I'm going to give snap and I'll click on create. So now snapshot has been created. So now if I go back to my file and if I delete this and if I go to my parent folder, which is test, I have a version over here. If you double click, so if you right click and if you go to the properties, under properties we have previous versions. So this is the snapshot I have taken. So if I revert this to my snapshot, I'll get my files. So let's click on revert. So let's click on restore and we will restore the file for the previous version. So click OK. And if you go inside, you will have your files back. So this is how you can configure backup so that you will have an alternate option to recover your files. So this is related to creating a snapshot at a time. For example, if you wanted to schedule a snapshot maybe daily or hourly or monthly basis, so you need to go to the NetApp account. So in this example, I have my NetApp account over here. So here we have an option called Snapshot Policies. So here you can create the policies. Let's go and create some policies. Click on add snapshot policy. So here you need to enable or disable. So let's keep it enabled and I'll go on name it as test 123. So here you can define hourly and how many copies you wanted to keep. So for example, I want to keep only one copy. So it will ask at what time. So it will ask a minute on the hour to take the snapshot. For example, let's say I want to take a snapshot at every half an hour. So then you need to mention 30. For example, for the daily backup, so it will ask how many number of snapshot to keep. For example, let's say I want 5. So here hours. So it means let's say I want to take the backup at every 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we need to define the time like this. Similarly, it will goes to the weekly as well as monthly. So you can configure as per your requirements. For this demo purpose, I will keep it hourly and I will click on save. So this is how you will enable snapshot so that it will take the snapshot of your volumes at this particular time as defined in the policy. So apart from this, it is always recommended to enable resource lock so that you can avoid any accidental deletion. So always protect your Azure NetApp account with the resource lock. And then we have access control. So only provide access to the related team or team members. So do not enable access to everybody. So it is recommended to restrict your access to the Azure NetApp files using Azure Access and Identity Management. So then we have Quota. So under Quota, you will get the details related to your NetApp files. For example, number of NetApp accounts per Azure region per subscription. So you can have maximum 10 and maximum size of the capacity pool. So you can create a capacity pool of maximum of 500 TB. So let's say if you wanted to go beyond 500 TB, it is not possible. In that case, you need to create a new capacity pool. And third one is number of capacity pool per NetApp account. So you can create maximum of 25 capacity pools. You cannot go beyond that. Similarly, number of snapshot, it is 255, and number of cross region replication, which is 10, and regional capacity quota per subscription, it is 25, which is already explained in the above. So then very important, number of volume per subscription. So let's say you wanted to create a FSlogix share, then you need to create a volume. So you can create maximum of 500 volumes. So you cannot go beyond that. And similarly, number of volume per capacity pool. So within a capacity pool, you can create up to 500 volumes. So it means, for example, let's say if this is my capacity pool, so under this capacity pool, currently I have one volume. So I can create up to 500 volumes. So you cannot go beyond 500. Similarly, for the capacity pool also, you can create up to 25 capacity pools. So and the maximum size of the capacity pool is 500 TB. So minimum is 2 TB. So you cannot go below 2 TB as well. So when it comes to resize, you can resize your capacity pools. For example, if you wanted to increase from 2 TB to 4 TB, so you just need to click resize and you need to enter the new number, for example, 3 TB, and just click OK over here. So it will increase the capacity pool. So for example, let's say if you wanted to increase your volume, so the procedure is same. So you need to click the volume first, and then we need to select resize over here. So here we have an option called resize. So we just need to increase, for example, let's say if you wanted to increase to 200 GB, you can do it. However, you need to keep in mind that your capacity pool should have enough storage. Let's say if it is having 2.9 TB and the volume, you cannot go above that value. For example, let's say I wanted to provision 4 TB volume, which is not possible. It will eventually throw error. So let's see that in action. See, it is saying that invalid value. We received the volume which is above the threshold. So to avoid such scenario, first you need to increase the capacity quota and then you can increase the volume. So if you wanted to see the overview of your capacity pool or your volumes, so you just need to select the capacity pool and go to the overview. So it will tell what is the available size and what is the used size. So here you can see 200 GB is allocated and rest is free. So similarly, if you go to your volumes, you can see the same design over there as well. So let's go to one of the volume over here. So if you go to the overview, so it will provide you all the details. So now we have a quota of 100 GB for this volume. So here you can see, so 100 GB is completely free and we are not utilized anything. So if you scroll down, you will see the monitoring part where you can see the total logical size and the latency with respect to this volume. For example, let's say if your users are complaining that they have a very slow VDI and there are opening or saving files, etc., it's taking time. In that case, you need to go to your volume and you need to see the average latency over here. If the latency is too much, then there is an issue. So you need to change the throughput or IOPS of this particular volume. So here you can see average IOPS as well as percentage volume consumed size. So average IOPS and latency is very important when it comes to troubleshooting. So you always have to keep an eye on this and you need to monitor proactively. So in Azure NetApp file, we have a very beautiful feature which is called break file locks. So in VDI, often some VHD or FSlogix profile, even after user log off, it won't get detached from the computer. So in that case, what you can do, you need to identify the IP address of that computer and you can enter it over here and you can click on break file locks so that you can get rid of the profile locks associated with that VHD. However, you have to make sure that if it is a multi-session, then it is not possible because it's going to break the lock for all the attached VHDs. So for single session, it is very helpful. So when you create your capacity pool, by default, it will set to auto, the QoS type. So if you wanted to change the QoS, that is quality of service type, to manual, you can change it over here. However, once you change it to manual, there's no way to come back to auto. So you have to carefully review this and you need to do the changes. So within a volume blade, so here we have a share 1 and share 2, which is nothing but our volume. So this share is having a service level of standard. So standard will have a IOPS or throughput. So if you wanted to achieve more IOPS or more throughput, you can change the service levels to either premium or to ultra. So the procedure is very simple. So first you need to choose which volume you wanted to change, and then select these three dots. Here we have an option called change pool. So now under that we have another capacity pool which is having premium SLA. So dynamically it will move this volume to the premium. So let's see. So if you click OK, and it will move this particular volume from standard to premium so that you will have a higher IOPS and higher throughput. So now as you can see, it is successfully completed the operation. So after refreshing, you won't see that volume or share over here. So it is moved to the another capacity pool where we have a SLA of premium. So this is my another capacity pool where I have service level of premium. So if I open this and if I go to the volume, so we can see the volume which we changed over here. So we can see the volume over here. So this is the volume. Earlier it was in standard service level. Now it is moved to premium, and we can see under this capacity pool. So this is how you can switch back or switch from one service level to another service level. So this is the brief about Azure NetApp file and how to configure it. Hope you find this video useful. Thank you.